arms under her head while she continues to rest. Then to the chaos of papers and folders we left scattered all over it before sleep has claimed both of us. We bunkered down here last night, and after both of our nerves had calmed down, mine for the most part, staying together was an unspoken invitation. Anyway, I'm pretty sure neither of us wanted to remain alone when there's that woman. She's still one in the first place, what we'd normally call a human. And I still feel guilt. Does it understand pain?
Fuck. I'd rather get charged for breaking and entering than mess with whatever that thing was any day.
Not that thinking about this still matters, when all our lives were in her hands. She's dangerous, and if we don't do anything about her and this curse, we'll definitely be pushing daisies soon. I can't let that happen. I've dallied on this long enough, left all my friends in harm's way after all the warnings they've given me. Besides, beneath the terror and the adrenaline that keeps me running, knowing what lies ahead of Isabella makes it hard not to take action. The paper sitting on the edge of the table calls my attention at this light against my hand when I reach for it. It's caught my eye the night before, but with the lot we still need to go through, I've simply ignored it. The logo emblazoned at the top of the page, however, provides this paper a whole new meaning. Not for me, but definitely for her.
A scholarship grant, huh?
I've only ever heard her talk about this once or twice, completing her degree, that is. She rarely goes about it in great detail, preferring to keep it to herself. Perhaps it's the fact that she thinks she's already too old to be chasing after it. It's been 5 years after all, but I've caught enough snippets of conversation between her and Zach to know she's never really given up on it. Despite how things have panned out for her with her father, she's one step closer to this part of her life. Silly as this may sound, coming from a friend, I'd like to give her the chance to have this. Whether that means stepping out of my comfort zone and figuring out what the deal is with the curses, I'll do it. If only to see that same smile on her from that time again. These days, the only moment she seems to show is when she's asleep, like right now, no matter how uncomfortable she appears. The smile of my own forms despite this when I glance at her sleeping form again. She hasn't moved since, her shoulders rising and falling in slow, even rhythm with her breathing. You won't think she has any problems this way.
If only that were true.
Sighing, I place the paper back where I got it, carefully so I don't accidentally wrinkle or damage it in some way, and finally push myself off the makeshift bed. Isabella shifts when I carry her from the floor and over to her bed, but doesn't wake, simply tucks herself comfortably underneath the covers as I pull over her. Briefly though, she mumbles something to herself and draws in another deep breath.
Becca, Ashton's being dumb again.
She drifts back into a deeper state of sleep after, like it hasn't been interrupted by the slightest movement earlier, but the small smile on her lips remain. When I find myself returning in kind.
Who sleeps like a rock now?
Better this way. Better to leave her to her dreams for the moment, which I hope are better than the ones I've had. She'll have time to worry about our problems later when she wakes up. For now, this will be another thing I don't want to take away from her, a moment of respite, no matter how fleeting. She deserves it, after all, after everything she's been put through. What I've put her through. In the meantime, I still have 2 people I need to check with. Isabella will definitely get in a tizzy if I don't check on them. Cole Luxborn Air meets me upon stepping out the hallway. Not unusual in itself, this is what Luxborn's weather's supposed to be. Bit cold, damp for the most part, and most often than not, terribly drab with an occasional sprinkling of rain every few hours. Oh, England. That's the UK weather in a fucking nutshell. Ugh. So, now that Ashton's seen everything that's going on, and that the woman's attacking Ashton, it makes sense that she's... If my original theory for what's happening with the person, which I'll say again, I believe that the woman who's the ghoul, essentially, is the slave that Charlotte Ermengarde set free, only to later burn her as a witch. I believe that she used the witch part of it as a cover-up because she was having an affair with Edward Godfrey, who was Charlotte Ermengarde's husband. They had a child. Charlotte found out, burned her, and now she's come back to seek revenge. And that the child that the woman and Godfrey had was later taken into the Wright family, and then many generations later, Luke Wright was born. So in essence, making him like the great grandchild, and she's trying to protect him from everyone around him. And the fact that she's now attacking Ashton because Ashton is so hell-bent on getting him sent to jail and stuff. Trying to kill Hannah because Hannah's married to him and kind of looks like Lady Charlotte Ermengarde, so he's probably just trying to get her out of the picture. Still don't know what the deal with Marianne is. Possibly because she almost slept with Luke, but then turned him down and then has been shitting on him ever since. So she's trying to protect her from him. Zach, I kind of don't understand why. And in fact, I don't understand why it's appearing after Zach anyway. That must just be the letter. Like the actual letter itself passing on the curse, if the curse is in fact a real thing. Isabella... Again, Isabella might just be another one of the people who are just being haunted because of the letter. And then Rebecca, maybe because she's hit Luke, she's been shitty with Luke, all this, that, and the other. Maybe that's why she's after Rebecca. But it doesn't explain why she can possess Kylie. And honestly, the more I think about the case, I honestly think that the letter is a red herring. I think the entire premise that this game was built on, the fact that it's called The Letter, the fact that it's basically all about this said letter, I kind of think the letter has nothing to do with this. Unless maybe the letter was written just before the woman was burned. And that somehow her hatred of what was about to happen and of Charlotte Ermengarde has seeped into the letter and effectively formed a curse on it. The letter just seems like such a far stretch. And the fact that it says, show this to 5 people or else. Well, the letter's been passed to more than 5 people. And she's still trying to come after them. Whether it had to be exactly 5 people and she's shown it to too many and now that's broken the rules of the curse and the chain letter system, and I don't know. It's weird. Very weird. The sky's still clear, but I'll give it a day or two before the weather takes a turn for the worse. I've complained about the awful rains for years, despite having lived here my entire life. I have to admit, though, seeing it return to the usual feels extremely reassuring. At least something still normal in the world. When I can no longer think the same for the situation we're in. A nightmare, that's probably all this is. Usually I'll say I've been through worse, but that's simply another lie I've often told myself, isn't it? And I've fed myself a great deal of lies throughout the years. Just so I won't have to think about it the next day. Maybe we won't have this problem, even have this problem, if I haven't been running away and ignoring the things, hiding them someplace no one else will see, because I've never believed doing so is a show. Because I've since believed doing so is a show of weakness.
Fuck do I know about ghosts, though?
What does Zach? What does Rebecca? Z-Man has mentioned dreaming about a woman. Whether it's the same one we've been seeing, I've yet to ask. Bottom line, he likely knows as much about this as I do. Hell, Rebecca's probably in the same boat, grasping for anything that might prove an answer, a way out of this. What can any of us do when all of us lacks any understanding of what's happening? One thing's clear about this, however. The thing is after us because of that. See, I still don't believe that it's after you because of the letter. Both Rebecca and Zach have seen it too. She'll be going after them as well. Yet here I am, walking up to Becca's door one slow step at a time, a stalling tactic to allow myself some time to put the mess in my head to better order. How to phrase this when there's a 90% chance she'll still be pissed about the whole different matter. The only reason why you didn't check on her last night, aside from the ungodly hour Isabella and I arrived, will only alarm her by showing up at home in the middle of the night acting like babbling lunatics, and her anger can last quite a while. These days, it seems the only one she can easily forgive is Isabella, but even with her, Becca's fuming still takes hours. I run my hand through my hair and straighten out my jacket before knocking once, twice, and 3 times a lady. Just to be sure she's heard me, even if she is asleep. He's usually awake by now, though.
Hey, Becca, it's Ash. Open up. Don't tell me you're still in bed.
Seconds tick by. No answer from her, and dread has started to creep up. I've been trained to handle dire situations, but the feeling has been doing that quite frequently since last night. My mind begins to anticipate the worst, and the next minute concern has mixed my thoughts, and I bang my fist on the door louder this time. She'll definitely be livid, but I'd rather face her wrath than a dead body.
Becca, it's Ash. There's something we need to talk about right away. Open up. I know you're...
Your girlfriend left early this morning, pretty boy.
Hi.
So if you could do us a bloody favor and shut up, that'd be real fucking polite.
My hand pauses short of landing another heavy knock. From the other unit, Rebecca's other neighbour peeks through his door. No, I see nothing but a bundle of blankets. I'll say they need help from being devoured by the sheets, but it sounds like he's just fine. He's a huge arsehole too, course of action. So people like him won't ruin your day. Act like the nicest person on the planet. He has done me wonders when I was a rookie patrolling the streets. No need to match his temper.
Oh, did she say where she was going?
I don't know. She said something about meeting someone or something, in case Filipina girl over there asks.
Is this where she smacks her in the head with a book? Yeah.
Well, what am I, her keeper? You know some people want to sleep in on a bloody Sunday, so keep it down. Just looking forward to this weekend. Thanks, you damn git.
Well, there's no need to be an ass about it. I'll get out of your...
He slams his door shut without warning, but not before muttering a string of very colourful words about me. Probably thinks I won't hear them inside the 4 walls of his apartment.
Jerk.
At the end of it, a sigh. So Rebecca's not here. Must have missed her by an hour or so, but at least she's not alone. She should be safe, in theory. Also, if the person she's meeting with is who I'm thinking, nevertheless, I still can't help but worry. It's an easy thing continuing down increasingly darker lines of thought. At Brashley to find out where she is and go straight there without deliberating on my actions first. Zach to boot. Rebecca's not alone, but I can't say the same for the big guy. A simple phone call for the both of them should do the trick. It leaves my nerves at any rate. Better than rushing over to Zach's place or assuming Rebecca's whereabouts and finding out they're not where I've guessed they should be, assuming the worst will come next, which I'd rather avoid this early. Any other reason I won't bother them, but an emergency begs for urgency. This one, right? Even if it isn't, anxiety from concern dulls judgment, something I most certainly can't afford to lose at any given time, especially right now. Any means to calm Calm it will do wonders for the muddled mess my mind is already in. Pulling up my phone, I thumb through the screen until it ends up on a group with only Zach, Rebecca's, and Isabella's numbers listed. Other people will probably say I keep too few friends when they chance on this. To extent it's true. I can easily name about 100 people I've been acquainted with through the years. Colleagues, blockmates from uni, neighbours, those sort of people. They all come and go. These three have chosen to stay with me for some reason without wanting or asking for anything. One sec. I've just got aim. Oh fuck! I'm knocking everything over now. Jesus Christ, that was more of a stretch than I was planning. But yeah, I've just got a message, so just one sec. Unlike the others, none has Zach's kindness, Rebecca's patience, or near the sincerity in Isabella's eyes. One day these guys are just there. The next thing I know, being with them eases it. That heavy, somber feeling lingering in the air when you stand alone in your apartment, or something as simple as spending your day off without anyone. I'll say it's loneliness, but this carries much more depth than that. If I can help it, I don't want to lose any of them to some stupid curse. My phone may be the least comforting thing at the moment. Honestly, I prefer being in the same room with them right now, but I'll take what I can get. Becca first. She'll get angry at me for worrying about her. She isn't some helpless damsel in distress after all. She isn't the shy little girl I knew when we were children. We're already far from the people we were back then, but that's more than enough reason to check on her. I don't have to imagine her taking anything head on. She'll do it instead of asking for help when she needs it. I don't care if she gets mad at me, only to know that she's fine. A ring in the silence of the hallway. The sound alone might as well be sharp enough to pierce through ears. Another second passes. 2, 3. When on the 9th ring, it goes straight to a voicemail. A cold feeling instantly lodges in my stomach.
Rebecca Gales here. You've reached my voicemail. Sorry if I can't get to you right now. Oh, and if this is Isabella, yes, you're free to reheat the food in my fridge. Otherwise, leave a message.
That's a very embarrassing thing to put onto your voicemail, love. Very embarrassing thing to put on your voicemail. Probably just busy, that's all. No, I still barely manage to keep my voice even when I speak.
Hey, Becca, call me back when you're free. We need to talk. ASAP.
Becca will be alright. Is alright. She's safe. She's with someone else. In the event that that woman shows up, she'll have someone with her. Someone she'll be able to ask for help. She's safe. She can handle herself. Becca might have a fierce, fiery temper, but she knows when she's faced with something she can't handle herself. Rebecca will see my missed call and she'll call me back. No, I don't express it enough. Rebecca is someone I consider important to me. Aww. Back in school. She's been my friend for the longest. Anybody else would have been fed up with me and left. The girl stuck by me. No matter how big of a jerk I've been. There's Zach and Isabella now too, of course. I've always been thankful for having them around. The worst times before, however, Becca was there. No one believes it when I say it, but I've surely had my awful moments as a bright kid, as a horrible teen. Issues, I've too many of them to count and refuse to deal with them for a time. At least that's what Andrew likes to tell me. I tend to think nothing of it. It has mellowed down over the years, thanks to the professor mostly. But at times I do wonder if it still burns me the same way it did all those years ago. After all, I was terrible, especially around the time of my parents' separation. Looking back at it now, I had no reason to direct all my frustrations toward everyone else. While I wasn't a kid who lashed out on anyone, preferring to keep things to myself and turning those negative feelings into more productive things, I've grown distant from a lot of people because of it, from my old friends, back in my old school, and the neighbours I've hung out with before moving, a habit I've likely brought with me into adulthood. I was just so angry with everyone and everything. All I kept thinking about was myself, wondering why me. In retrospect, it was a selfish little bastard who thought the world revolved around me. That I shouldn't have been going through it. I believe my behaviour was entitled, that I had the right. Tough times, but she stuck with me. Snapped me out of my little sulk, as she often phrased it, whenever she sees the chance to bring it up. She doesn't tolerate my bullshit, but she doesn't leave me alone either. If anything, the whole thing made her stick around. Concern may have grown a little bit overbearing as the years went by, but she's still an old friend nevertheless. I owe her a lot. That won't change.
Damn it. Where are you, Becca?
Another message left on a voicemail, and then on my third call, I hang up. For the time being, I can't do anything more than wait for her to return my calls. Worrying aimlessly won't get me anywhere. Zach, on the other hand, that guy attracts trouble no matter how much he tries to avoid it. Doesn't help how he hasn't been too hot lately with a lot of people. His mention of plans yesterday didn't set too well with me either. He might be the next responsible adult after Rebecca, out of the four of us, but I've still got to check on the big guy. Make sure he's doing okay, at the very least, whatever he's planning on doing. All I ask is for it not to be idiotic. He's a sensible guy, I'm sure. However, desperation clings and pushes people to do things, rational or irrational, it doesn't matter. Clear thinking flies out the window the moment when you're in danger, and I sincerely hope he has not found himself in another tricky situation. His phone doesn't even ring before he answers, or his voicemail at least.
Hey, it's Zach. Well, a voicemail anyway. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So, just leave a message, yeah? And no, Ash, you're not allowed to lockpick your way into my apartment again. Just do what any other decent human being does and call if I'm not around. Thanks.
Did he turn it off? Why? I don't want to assume the worst yet. Maybe he's forgotten to charge it. Can't be. That guy is a bit of a Boy Scout, even more than I am a cop. He's the type who has an extra battery or a power bank in his bag if he ever needs it. And he always does. He won't say anything or brag about it, but he's got quite the roster of VIP freelance clients. He won't just leave his phone dead in case he's on the field, particularly when people will likely be looking for him. He always leaves his connection open whenever clients or his friends need him. Zach is reliable like that.
Why isn't anyone answering?
His mobile is in an out-of-range area sounds more plausible, although the thought of it doesn't completely shake off the unease. Unlike Rebecca and I, he took the time to listen to what Isabella said. And even if you didn't believe it, he was definitely the first one to offer help or try to do something. If he ends up trouble doing whatever it is, so help me, I'm going to. Well, I can't be rash, I'm aware of that, but running the same reminder in my head since last night. But if something happens, I'm certain my reaction won't be pretty.
Yo, Zach, call me back, alright? I wanted to check in and, yeah, just please call me back.
It's usually a joke between us when I say he's the Watson to my Sherlock. I don't see him as some sort of assistant put aside until he's needed, like some people like to believe, though. He's not some pity friend I keep around to make myself look good.
If anything, he's the one who stayed by me out of pity.
Zach's the one who puts up with me most of the time, even when he doesn't need to. It's not the case of being cool. It's not a case of a cool cop who helped out a minority. In truth, it was hard-headed. I was hard-headed, hot-tempered, and reckless rookie. Up until I met him. It wasn't anything sudden, and some part of me is still that rookie, but I've grown thanks to him. He tempers that part of me. Considering how fuck me, what is up with me at the minute? Considering how our first impression went, I'm lucky he stuck around. Becca and I may have spent a lot of years together as children, but Zach, he's probably the closest thing I'll call to a best friend, though it's more than that. A camaraderie no words can express. He has my back and I'll always have his. He's a brother I've never had the luck of having, an only child and all.
I have every reason to worry about my brother.
Becca's neighbour did say she went out meetings with someone, no specific names. If I'm wrong and she's not with Professor Clark, then maybe it's with Zach. They've never been close, but it's not the kind of awkward friendship where meeting together remains out of the question. Regardless, I continue dialing for his phone another 3 times, like I've done with Becca's. In the end, the third attempt with no one answering, I stop and move to cut the call with a ragged exhale.
Waiting game it is, then.
I've been trained for those. Hell, I'm used to them, just not when it comes to people I'm close to. Much as I keep reminding myself to maintain a level head, it's a whole different matter when it's someone you know. Personal feelings will likely get involved at some point. It's starting now, actually, with the anxious strings coiling and uncoiling, causing a racket inside my stomach. That's exactly when the line connects. Before he even speaks, my question has already slipped out, including every pent-up worry about tension in my body.
Where are you?
The line's choppy, though I can still make out words he's saying. Nothing to worry about then. It's just some place where the network coverage is shit. I can't imagine where it... He's at the Ermengarde mansion at this point, isn't he? Did he go out for a jog?
What was that, Ash? Could you repeat that? Signal shitty here.
I asked, where are you? Hell, Zach, I've been calling your number for a good 20 minutes now. What kind of shithole did you get into?
I've meant that to sound as friendly as possible, to keep things light at least, instead only the frustration shows in my tone.
Good morning to you, too. I should be asking you that question. I've been looking all over the mansion for you. I thought you'd be...
What mansion?
Do I really need to answer that?
The Ermengarde.
Why are you even...
Please don't tell me that's his plan, a morning visit to the mansion where Luke Wright is. Of all the pig-headed things to do right now, it's the best thing he can come up with, breaking and entering. I've got plenty of reasons to rail at him right now, although no matter how much I want to give him a piece of my mind, unfortunately, it's not the time.
No, wait. Just get your ass to Isabella's place and hurry.
He pauses a moment, a second of indecision while he seems to contemplate his options.
How urgent is this?
In truth, the question, the hesitance and the indecision in his voice has caught me completely off guard, and understanding dawns on me. His decision to go there isn't one born out of a stupid impulse. He must have found something. However, no matter how urgent it is, he still shouldn't have gone there alone at that. Despite myself in that split second of comprehension, I allow it to show. A weakness. Simple request brimming with every unease and disquiet, causing turmoil within me since last night. It bears a selfish hope that he'll understand, even though the unstable signal that whatever's keeping him there, he'll be willing to set it aside for now.
Pressing enough for you to stop asking questions and get yourself here. Please, Zach.
Silence falls on the other end of the line again. For a long moment, I assume he won't heed it, and I'll have to drive there myself just to drag him away from whatever danger he's skirting. Thankfully, he agrees.
I'll be there in a few. An hour or two tops.
Thanks. I'll see you.
Relief washes over me as soon as the call ends. Normally, I don't let myself Normally, I don't let myself a moment of respite in times like these. Gotta stay alert. Rebecca's still out and yet to return any of my messages, but for the moment, I relish in it. This is probably the first time I've permitted myself to do so since last night. Even the muscles in my shoulders have been complaining from all the tension I've taken on. It still annoys me that all I can do right now is grit my teeth and trudge back into Isabella's apartment. Useless. That's why I'm in the face of this. A mad dash around Luxbourne and Anselm isn't going to help things. It's not like I'll simply stumble across them in the side of the road during a drive. The city's too big a place for one person to go searching for only 2 people. I'd be lucky if even a glimpse of the hair... If I even glimpsed the hair of either of them. With one last hopeful glance towards the open skies, I slip back into Isabella's apartment and close the door behind me. I might have already grown used to this, but the waiting will always be the hardest part. More so when it's the people you care about.
You're up early. I thought you left.
This is not the first time I've seen Isabella like this. Standing casually by a kitchenette, a ladle in hand, keeping an eye on whatever's stewing over the stove, while humming a soft tune under her breath. 5 years ago, it had become a common sight for the 3 of them, including Zach and Rebecca, found a mutual interest in cooking. After that, whenever our schedule allows it, one of them will invite everyone to a dinner or lunch instead of eating out. Rebecca prefers it that way. Healthier, she claims. Zach's just happy to be able to cook for everyone. Isabella, on the other hand, as long as there's food, she's happy. Me, I've been banned from the kitchen ever since the pressure cooker incident. Easier times. Good times. Right now, however, the scene brings an odd sense of normalcy, a strange fit with all the things going on around us. Not unwelcome, only bizarre, I suppose. Isabella doesn't follow up on a question earlier, but she does raise an eyebrow my way when I take too long to answer. For that, I only offer a casual shrug in response to a short answer.
I've checked with Zach and Rebecca. I'm just waiting to hear back from them.
I'll add in a quip or 2 for her if the timing for a joke isn't off or doing so won't be inappropriate. I don't want to alarm her either. There's no reason to, yet. Until Zach gets here or until I receive an answer from Rebecca, whichever comes first. Nevertheless, it's clear she has plenty of questions. It's right there in the subtle crease between her eyebrows and the inquisitive gleam in her eyes. Curious as she is though, she decides against voicing all of her questions out. Instead, she shifts her attention back to the stove and gestures vaguely to the hand in the couch, with her hand in the couch's direction.
Well, if we're going to wait for them, don't stand around there. It's getting distracting.
You're just cooking. How am I distracting?
I don't know. Something might explode again, maybe. Zach's kitchen ban for you is also in effect here, you know. Now shoo, go. Stop hovering. You'll ruin the food. I'll be done here soon.
She leaves no room for an argument by swatting the ladle at me, and just like that, I've been kicked out of the kitchen. Left with nothing else to do, I'll drift back to a tiny living space and slump down on the couch. Closing my eyes, I'll allow the noise from the television to guide my thoughts. The ones I've been keeping at bay, freeing them from the cage I've built around them so I won't have to think. One by one, they trickle back into my consciousness, each more frightening and unnerving than the other. So many things are going on. So many things happening. The papers we've gotten from BRC doesn't provide any comfort either. Seriously, is there even a point to those after last week? What will asking those people do? If anything, this only proved there might be more copies of that dumb piece of paper. We have one here, but how many exactly is there out there? More importantly, how do we get out of this stupid mess?
Ashton.
Damn it, I haven't felt this kind of bone-weary exhaustion in years.
I don't want to think what might happen next in case I miss something. Shit.
Rebecca, Zach, Isabella.
They're all depending on me and...
Ash!
The voice snaps me out of my thoughts, abruptly wiping away everything running a racket inside my head. Suddenly, Isabella's there, crouched in front of me when I crack an eye open. I haven't even noticed the exact moment when I bent over and buried my head in my hands. Figures why she's staring at me like this, like I fainted or something. Creasing her eyebrow grows deeper at my lack of response. Although she's merely staring at me, Without saying a word, her expression says everything. So much for not trying to alarm her with bad news.
Sorry, I just spaced out for a moment. Don't mind me.
For a brief moment, she seems to accept it. Quietly, she shifts, stands up, and takes the empty space right beside me. All done without a single comment. Then, the next thing I know, she's gently pushing a bowl into my hands. The scent reaches me first, but before I've gotten a chance to take in what she has just handed me, a faint, sweet smell of cocoa wafts from the dish. Calming, comforting, despite the multitude of things bothering me, it certainly smells like the kind of food you'd eat on a rainy day. Though, from the get-go, it doesn't look that appetizing. What is this even? Porridge? Why would you put chocolate in it and milk drizzled on top? She tells me my tastes are weird, and yet here she is handing me something equally as strange. In fact, she's already started digging into hers. I'm just not sure the taste will be as equally as appealing. Baffled, I glance away. She offers no immediate glance her way. She offers no immediate answer, simply continues eating as if she hasn't done so in a week, with her focus solely on the television. She's not watching, however, just listening. As background noise, the voices from it seem too cheerful, a welcome distraction if anything. It's only after she has finished off half the bowl does she acknowledge the question in my eyes. With a sigh, she cradles the dish on her lap and looks down at it. Briefly, her lips part, then closes. A hesitation. No, I don't push her. There's a distant air on her, as if she's remembered something that warrants a poignant thought. When she speaks at last, it's in a tone too careful, like she's still weighing her words, considering the proper phrasing for it. Yet, sincerity underlies each syllable once they're out in the open.
You should eat. Back at home, Mama would never let us leave the house if we hadn't eaten breakfast yet. Even Papa has got an earful when he tried. So eat. You'll need it.
She returns to her food afterwards, while I only stare at the one she has pre-offered not a few minutes ago, warm against my hands, tempting me to take a bite. Not that I don't appreciate this, but what good will this do? Zach and Rebecca both out there, who knows when that ghost will show up again? Even in our dreams, we're not safe. But that's it, isn't it? We don't know when, and at the present, we have a chance at respite. Maybe the only one we'll have. Even if it's as mundane as sharing food between us, quietly just seating side by side like this without exchanging any words. The intent hangs unspoken in the air. Something that probably goes as far back as the second he offered food. Still, in the end, Isabella never pushes it. Rather, she lets her own silence convey her hope. Where are we at? Right there.
Thank you.
Ah, yeah, it's going up. Words roll off my tongue, awkward and unfamiliar, far removed from those jests and quips we shared. Yet she accepts this with a smile and nothing more, regardless of everything left unsaid. The sight of it brings comfort. More so than any generous offer of food I can give. Though we both lapse into silence after as we finish our food, there's ease in it. In the muffled sound of Luxborn filtering into the room, in the light streaming from her window, and the faint draft occasionally drifting in, catching the loose tendrils of her hair. In the way her voice falters when she tries to form words, and despite the horror looming over us, I find myself wishing for the minutes to slow, for the seconds to last. But ultimately, she's the one who breaks it, softly after a minute's pause, in words mumbled under her breath. Ugh. Sometimes silence simply compels us to speak.
I've been wondering, before last night, before Mama told me the news, what if Papa passes away, despite everything? That sort of thing. I know it's not good to think about, but I also knew it was getting worse. Mama won't say anything, but I've always known that one day He'll eventually.
There are no tears, but she might as well have them with how weak her voice falls. Are there even any left?
I don't know what I'm going to do. Before, I can easily say it's because of Papa. Now, I don't have anything.
You have that scholarship from Lux U.
Were you going through my personal papers while I was sleeping last night?
I don't really have to. You left it sitting in the open, right there on the table.
Like there's still anything to hide, she snatches it away from where I placed it back earlier. Except there's no anger or annoyance in her face when she looks at it and rereads every line with a pensive expression. After a short while, she folds it neatly along the creases and sets it
I
back.
don't even know if this will work out.
Well, if it doesn't, what about that exhibit you've been planning with Zach?
Do I even have to ask where you got that?
Zach sucks at lying. You have no idea how easy he is to read. It was all in his face when I asked about it. And anyway, if that doesn't pan out too.
I trail off, hesitating, measuring the weight of my next words. Genuine as they are, part of me believes they're a burden, too heavy to impose on her. Because no matter how much I want her to stay, we're not what ties her here. It'll be selfish to ask that of her. More than anything, her family will always come first. I say it nevertheless, if only to let her know that no matter what her choice will be, there will be people here whose lives her mere presence has changed. Mine most of all.
You have us.
The words startle her to a pause, and slowly she turns to me, her eyes wide, disbelief all over her face. Before regret forces an apology up in my throat, her expression dissolves into something I can't quite place. Something distinctly softer, more tender, familiar, almost the same manner she glanced at me years ago, that day at the bridge. However, I don't get the chance to figure out what it all means for her. All of a sudden, a knock breaks the moment, and just as fast, both our attentions shift towards the source. Before things can get awkward fast, I stand up to open the door while muttering some flimsy excuse in the process.
I'll get that. It's probably Zach or Rebecca.
Really, I know we're in a pinch, but their timing can't get any worse. Unrelated frustrations aside, once I fling open the door, a whole chunk of the stone that has been stuck at the pit of my stomach simultaneously unseats itself. There, in the hallway, stands Zach, his hand raised, ready for another knock. Although he's not at his most presentable at the moment, ruffled and drenched with sweat as he is, relief quickly washed over me like a tide. He's still panting when he pushes me aside and heads in. Right. I'm going to quickly take a break, scoff some food down my face, and carry on. I think the reason why I'm tripping over my words is because I'm hungry. So I'll be back in a Right, let's continue. I have eaten. I have shoved food matter into my face. The second his feet cross the threshold, he scans the place, eyeing what little he can see of the room from the doorway. When finds none of whatever he's looking for, he turns to me with a questioning look, one that has a hint of panic in it.
You said it was urgent. Did anything happen? Is it Becca? Bella?
Everyone's fine. Well, Becca's not here. She went somewhere this morning and hasn't answered any of my calls yet. But Isabella's...
I'm here, Zach. Morning.
His weight shifts at the same time. The stiff line in his shoulder eases once Isabella walks up to us and welcomes him with a smile. He relaxes then, returns her a greeting in kind as soon as he has let out a breath he has been holding and the tension finally off his body.
So, nothing's wrong? Why'd you call me here for then?
My explanation can wait. He has a lot of explaining to do. The fact that he went to Anselm alone for some godforsaken reason warrants a proper one. Ghost or not, he's already been given a warning. It frustrates me to no end. They might be the plan he mentioned the last time we spoke. I get that he's worried about Hannah Wright. Somehow they've become friends, and that's not the issue here. Not when there's a murderous ghost who might go after one of us at any given time. Sure, Zach made it here in one piece. By some dumb luck, he's alright, and this takes one off the list of people I need to worry about. Frankly, as annoyed as I am, I can't just stay angry at him when I look at the situation that way. Hell, if that call didn't connect at the exact minute, there might have been a chance he won't be standing here. That's a blessing in itself. Though, first things first, some things still need to be discussed. You're okay? Yes. Except when I open my mouth, the only thing that spills from it is my own relief. Despite myself, despite the rational part of my brain screaming everything wrong about Zach's neat little plan, we've had so many close calls within just a single night. Zach showing up at Isabella's doorstep, alive, whole and unharmed.